Are you too busy, too stressed out, unhealthy? Then this is the place for you. Welcome to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals, where we help you create wellness and balance with a holistic approach that will work for you, even with the busiest of schedules, so you can live the life you want. And now, here's your host, Diane Randall.
Hello and welcome to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals. This show provides inner tools and strategies to help you create the life you want. Today I have my awesome guest, Penney Peirce, who's here to talk to us about success, inner and outer. I remember when I was in graduate school, one of Penney's books, The Intuitive Way, was required reading. And man, did I learn a lot from Penney. So I'm just so excited that she's here today. Penney Peirce is a clairvoyant, an empath, visionary, popular lecturer, and trainer specializing in intuition development, inner energy dynamics, and expanded perception. Penney has worked throughout the United States and internationally since 1977. She is the author of several books, including Frequency, The Intuitive Way, and Leap of Perception. Penney coaches business executives, psychologists, scientists, and others about the hidden dynamics of what makes for true success. And she's here to share her insights with us today. Penney Peirce, welcome to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals.
Oh, thanks, Diane. We met several years ago, and I've always enjoyed talking to you.
I've always enjoyed talking to you. Your insights, your guidance, and your expertise has really helped me to shift certain aspects of my life. So that was really great when you accepted the invitation to come on, because I feel your work is so needed now, and it's very important because, as you say in some of your books, we have to get beyond logic. We have to get beyond, using our simple minds to do stuff. We have to look at what's inside of us more. So I'm just so grateful that you're here to talk about success and what that means.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many layers we can get into. So I'm excited. Yeah, my whole focus, has been, intuition was just the first step on it, but it really kind of morphed into an understanding and fascination with the transformation process and how the world is accelerating and how that's affecting our consciousness and our energy. And we're actually moving into a whole new way of perceiving reality. So that's some kind of heady stuff, but it affects people at every level. And I think it is affecting business as well. So we can get into that if you want to. I think, success, there's an old way of perceiving that's kind of linear, and the new way is more spherical and holographic, which is very hard to picture. But when we go into the new perception, it's going to change the way we think about everything. So we'll think about success differently, or about business practices differently, or business organizational structures differently. And it's going to be exciting, but confusing as it first comes in.
When you go into businesses and you coach executives, how do you help them to look at life differently that impacts the way they work?
Well, I usually don't go into the businesses because that's still very stuck in the old perception, and that old perception is very left-brained and linear.
Okay.
I like to pull the people out of their comfort zone space and talk to them outside of that so that we can introduce the concepts of the new perception. And this really has a lot to do with allowing yourself to get out of the left brain where everything is compartmentalized and separated and, logical and proof-oriented, and learn to move into the right brain a little bit, where suddenly you open up into intuition and direct knowing, where you don't process things in a linear way, step by step by step, mechanically. You know things all at once. And, it's my perception that we are moving out of the information age now because we can't go fast enough to process all the data that's there in a linear way anymore.
Yeah.
So we're leaping into the intuition age where we have this new kind of all at once kind of perception where everything's in the present moment. And once you can start to understand that, then you can understand how to start harnessing intuitive skills and all these new perceptual skills, which I've outlined quite extensively in Frequency and Leap of Perception, to work in business and make it a whole new kind of thing. But so I think that people are sensing this already. They know how fast everything's moving. And one of the symptoms of it is how we don't want to just be doing things alone anymore. We want to be in teams or groups of like-minded others where we're on the same wavelength, where people are much more open and not caught in their negative subconscious blocks and fear thinking, and where they're moving on into a co-creativity that is contributory.
And I hear what you say because I've gotten to the point where I love being around like-minded people. And I ask myself sometimes, has this replaced a lot of, best friends? You know how
yeah,
best friends, but I hear you. You're already on the same page. Everyone's in the flow of what's going on. So everybody's interested in the same thing.
Yes.
For example.
Yeah, and thinking in a similar fashion, too.
Exactly.
One of the old ways about thinking about materializing or making things happen is that you have to use willpower and intention. You have to set your intention. You have to, track down the line of the process and, troubleshoot along the way and all this thing and be clever. But the new way is that if everything's in the present moment with you, that means the imaginal realm and the new ideas and the final product. Because what's happening is that the past and future are getting swallowed up in the present moment right now. And that means that everything becomes more instantaneous. That the future is no longer out there or over there. It's actually in you as a different frequency of consciousness than the one you're in right now. And if you could change your vibration and energy level to actually match that new movie, you would have it almost immediately.
So can you tell us how to do that?
Well, you have to learn to work in your imagination first.
Okay.
The mind, this is one of the kind of tips for people, who are working in busy professionals, is that to really understand that in these days, the inner non-physical, invisible realms are merging with the physical. So form and no form is coming together, which means that we become aware that there's always an inner blueprint for things in the physical world, that they start first in the non-physical with a thought, with an imagination, with a sense of placing attention, not intention, but attention on, a reality and feeling it, and then merging with it and loving it. And you don't force it. You don't push it. You be with it. And if you love it, it loves you. If you place attention on it, it will become aware of you and it will start actually dropping in frequency until it becomes physical and it'll emerge out of the energy field around you, which is another kind of concept that we are starting to understand, that everything vibrates, everything is a combination of energy and consciousness, and that we have a field of energy around us. The old days, they called it the aura, but now I call it the personal field. And when something new happens in your life, it comes out of your field. You don't attract it to you. In this new reality, there's no outside world. It's all in this huge present moment. That means you're connected to it already. There's much less work to do. You don't have to use so much willpower. So materializing something is a matter of placing attention on it, being with it, loving it, and just staying with it and letting it start to show up and having faith and trust that it will. And then things get very easy, and very fast.
And you said something pretty powerful. You have to trust.
Yeah.
And that is pretty tough for a lot of people for a lot of reasons, especially busy people in business.
Yes. I think it starts, at least it did for me, because I was pretty left-brained originally. I was a designer and all the corporate stuff. And it comes with realize, I call it, you have a part of your own consciousness or mind that helps you notice what you notice. I call it your inner perceiver. And it's like a function of your consciousness because, you and I could go for a walk together and you'd see one set of things and I might see a totally different set of things. And we're making that experience meaningful to ourselves in totally different ways. It's what we need. So I realized that and I thought, well, I might as well trust that part of me because it's going to, I think it's the soul really helping the personality open up to things that we need to know. So I made a big decision to just trust it and notice throughout the day through a kind of mindfulness practice. Okay, so what am I noticing now? Or why did I have that feeling about that person? Or what's going on with this? And what am I trying to tell myself? What do I already know about this situation? So I ask my inner perceiver a bunch of questions and then I answer them. Or it answers it through me. I get the answer instantly. And so I dialogue with that all throughout the day. But the basis of it is just the fascination with what it's giving me and deciding to trust it. Because I don't think you can trust without actually deciding to trust. And then once you have decided that, then you can extend that experience and understand that the flow itself has a great sanity to it. I think the flow is the collective consciousness of all beings evolving. Mm-hmm. And so everyone's in it and everything's helping everything else. So if a new thing happens in your life, it probably came from everyone and you.
So if we were just to trust and have a knowing that our life would flow or things would flow from the inside out, how can this help us with greater success in our lives? How can we integrate some of the concepts you said in order to have greater success?
I think, in a way, success is, in my frame of mind, it's not about making a lot of money or having a lot of power, although that's fine if that happens. But to me, it's much more about being able to merge those worlds of the non-physical and physical and have your life be run by your soul. In other words, have the soul embody the personality. And then have the spiritual realm, which functions amazingly. It is so harmonious. Those rules, those principles to come through your physical life also and reorder it, reorganize it. So it's so fluid and so easy and so harmonious without a lot of effort and struggle. So if we can reduce effort, struggle, and pain and suffering and worry and defensiveness and move more into just a sense of trusting the creative flow, immediately a lot of problems disappear. That speeds everything up even more. And plus it starts to bring you unusual, creative, innovative ideas and that you suddenly feel like, oh, I could do this. Sure, I'm capable of this. And so there's more confidence, there's more sense of, improving the quality of life. So to me, the success is something about that inner smoothness that we could have with our own inner perceptual processes, which then radiate out into the world and create forms that are also the same way.
That's so beautiful. Now, where does that leave the big E, the ego?
Yeah, right. Well, that's a big part of this process is the clearing of the clutter, right, of old ideas and beliefs and fearful emotions and suppressed emotional wounds and things that are in the way of the soul coming through fully. So when we start understanding why we were afraid to do something or why we have these biased ideas about other people, and those things actually find some understanding and can clear, well, then more clear light comes through. More of the soul can translate into form.
Got it.
And the more you clear, the more clear you are in terms of your destiny and doing what you were built for. And then I think, you have just greater natural success because you don't look at things as being problematic. You look at even a snag as just being data. Like, oh, well, why is this happening in my reality? What am I trying to show myself right now? Well, maybe Maybe the people you're trying to sell the product to aren't really ready yet, or the product's not finished yet, or, something else has to happen before this can happen. And you needed to slow down and pay more attention. So part of it is these mental habits that we're creating now that are different. But I think a big thing is that inner blueprint concept, that if people can take a little more time in the beginning of a process and get quiet, go into the pattern of what they're trying to accomplish and run it out and play it in their mind. See it functioning. See how does your body feel if you go into the imagination of that movie? Like maybe you're job hunting and you're looking for, you've got a couple options. Well, you could project yourself into each situation and have an immediate response of contraction or expansion in your body. And the contractions are usually an indication that something's not quite right or in alignment with your highest frequency. Mm. So then you would go in and maybe project that ahead 6 months. Well, it might get better or it might get worse. And that's just data. You're looking at how things might unfold, or you might even get ideas about there are some problematic people in that situation that I really don't want to work with. And then you try the option number 2 and you do the same thing and you compare the feeling states. And you can trust your body to give you, it's like that fight or flight reaction, or the reptile brain saying lean toward it or repel away from it.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think that if we just learn to use, I call it your truth and anxiety signals, to read situations and project them ahead, and you're working again with that inner blueprint before it actually even materializes. You get a lot of data, so you don't waste time, doing it and then finding out it wasn't right.
So it seems like, and I'm just asking this as a question, we might need to be still enough.
Yes.
So that we can see and feel.
Yeah, I think that's what's coming, is that everybody in business is going to have to learn how to meditate, although they might not call it meditation, but it might be information gathering from the inner self about how energy is functioning in this situation. And that means you do have to get silent, because to move out of the left brain, which is all language oriented, into the right brain, which has no language, you have to stop the internal dialogue. Or external dialogue, and be quiet and get into your body, drop in, feel. And I call it, feeling into things now. You feel into a situation and merge with it and let your body be the barometer. The body, registers the impressions of any potential reality, and you can tell it all kinds of things about options.
And I hear what you're saying, but there's so many of us that are very uncomfortable with the silence. It's almost like, let me feel this because I'm uncomfortable. But what I hear you saying, if we could just learn to meditate, to be quiet and be still, then we could lead a different way. We could navigate.
Yes. Well, there are two kinds of input. There's information age linear data input, and that's all left-brained. And then there's right-brained input that has to do with energy and waves and frequencies and pauses and flows. And silence is just a pause.
Right.
Right. And all it is you go in and you get quiet and you allow your space to open up, or you feel supported by the space. And if you just let a critical mass of moments build up, suddenly that what seems like emptiness becomes full. And then right there at the right frequency, which is your home frequency, your highest personal vibration, all kinds of new ideas are there. And data and information that's just right for you. But you have to be willing to, go through the doorway to get into the room where that stuff is.
Exactly. And I think for busy people, busy professionals, that would end all this external stress and all this external anxiety, because you'd have an opportunity or a vision to look at your life in a bigger way before you even have to react to something.
That's right. Some of my business friends and I who are working with this material, we call it the round trip.
Oh.
You start in the physical with the problem or the thing that's bothering you or with the data you've received, and then you stop that for a moment, pause, and get quiet and go out. It's like the particle in the wave in physics. We're oscillating. So the particle reality is here, the physical, the left brain, the data that comes from information. And then you relax and let go, and it kind of turns into a wave that takes you into the unified field where all answers and all possibilities exist. And you're really huge. You're in the collective consciousness. It's amazingly abundant and free. And so you go out and you get restful in that place, and then suddenly the correct or appropriate answers or insights or new ideas emerge out of you. They don't even come to you. They come out of you, out of your field. And there's being with you. It takes no effort. And then you can bring that back with you into the left brain again to make it conscious, and say, oh, here's my description of what I just felt, the pattern that I just got, or the vision that I started having. And I can describe it in words now and communicate it. So the round trip is going out to the higher realms and the imagination, getting, all kinds of even new set of instructions or new ideas, and then bringing that back again into this world and making it physical and communicatable.
Wow.
But then you don't stay in that, see. Mm-hmm. Once you get the answer or the insight, you say, okay, and what would be my first step? Well, then you go back into the round trip again, and you go and feel what wants to happen next.
Okay.
Then you come back in and you do it. There's this new rhythm we get of rocking back and forth between the left brain and the right brain and the left brain and the right brain and the body and the higher self. And I know I'm talking abstractly, but these are habits that if we learn to do them, you will eliminate a lot of the stuff that's in the way of natural flowing success. And to me, success also means kind of like joyful, non-sacrificial service and joyful creativity of things that really are helpful to other people and not just self-centered.
Right. It certainly sounds like a concept that we all need to learn. And I think if we could just look at some of these things, it could definitely put us collectively on a whole new trajectory of life.
Yes.
It would.
I think if people can learn to understand what this new perception is going to be all about and how the intuition age is going to function, which is what I've been trying to do with all my books, is that they will get the leading edge. They'll be on that cusp of getting the new leading edge ideas and the innovations, and then helping to teach other people how to do it.
I really, really see this as definitely, it used to be kind of futuristic
right,
and looked at as something different, not necessarily for business, but I do see things changing in the business. I had a woman on a few weeks ago, and she told me she was actually teaching meditation in corporations. Uh-huh. So I just think the time for perception and looking at life and business in a different way, the time is here, and you do all your wonderful work to continue to teach people that all these things are possible and life can be a lot better for all of us on a big level. So,
yeah. Well, I think sometimes, I read Fast Company magazine, and a lot of the new young companies are working with principles of this new perception, but I don't think they really realize what it is.
Right.
It's starting to filter in, but it would be nice to crystallize it so people know what they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And bringing in the right people to talk about it in a way that it should be expressed and not necessarily trying to bring it in from a bottom line perspective.
Right. Right.
So,
because bottom line is left brain perception.
Exactly.
And the way things are going to increase and improve is going to not be logical from now on.
Right. And if
And that's
about type A, like where I come from, type A technology folks, we're very left brain. I mean,
yes. And lots of willpower.
lots of willpower.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think for me, I can say that I've definitely grown outside of that in so much of my life. So I understand what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. And I look for a future where all these concepts and techniques can just make us a better planet, a better group of folks, in the business place.
Yes, yes.
So this is very awesome. If anyone's interested in knowing more about Penney Peirce, her website links will be in the show notes. And Penney, I want to thank you for coming on Balanced Living for Busy Professionals and sharing your insights on perception and intuition and how it can impact all of us in a bigger way in the workplace and outside the workplace.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals. This podcast is sponsored by DianeRandallConsults.com. If you like this show, the best way to support it is by leaving 5-star feedback on iTunes. And please, feel free to email your questions, comments, and suggestions to feedback@DianeRandallConsults.com. Until next week, namaste.